Now, Japan has a lot of weird stuff. Just look at their beauty products and you will get an idea of what I mean. So today, we will be looking at some of the weirdest looking bosses seen in the Super Mario series in order to find out which one is the most freaky. Number 8. Now, space is fun, and we all know that, including Nintendo, and that's why they made Super Mario Galaxy. However, they also included some other things that are great in general, but not really for a boss design. Like Sorbetti, who appears in the Freezy Flake Galaxy. Now, his name is a combination of the words sorbet and yeti, of which the first kind of makes sense, but the second totally doesn't. He's a gigantic living spiked snowball with 2 crystals for eyes and an evil grin, with a bulbous red nose that serves as its weak point. Now this thing bears a resemblance to Tap Taps from the Yoshi's Island series, especially the ones with a red nose. And this boss, combined with the planet it's fought on, also resembles a snowman, particularly in the artwork. Now, from the start, its name is already a bit confusing compared to its look, and while it does look quite cool from a distance, it all becomes a bit weird when you take him on. It's basically a giant snowball with a red button on it that rolls around and tries to crush you under its weight. Another thing I tend to think of when I see him is those dog toys with all those spikes sticking out. Just a bit weird when you think about it all. Number 7. Now, it doesn't end here for Super Mario Galaxy. Oh no, because there's a spider scene in the first that's odd, to say the least. Tarantox. It's found wrapped up in a web inside the Phantom Boss Spider Zone in the Space Junk Galaxy. Its name is a combination of the words tarantula and toxic, which describes it perfectly. It resembles a combination of a spider from Yoshi's Story and a scuttlebug from New Super Mario Bros. It has 3 wide oval eyes, wings, a sniffet-like mouth, feet with suction cups, 5 glowing buttons on its sides, and 3 large buttons on its underside, which Mario must pop during the boss fight. Now, especially the last thing I mentioned makes it all a bit weird and slightly gross. It's a weird chubby spider with stubby legs covered in zits. As you could have expected, this gives me the shivers down me spine, especially when they pop. In general, it looks like a deformed spider covered in weird spots, which are filled with the green Nickelodeon slime. Number 6. In recent years, Nintendo hasn't really changed their weird habits of making the most odd and diverse bosses. And one that joins the ranks is Motley Boss Blob, a jester seen in Super Mario 3D World, who emits gelatinous blobs to transform into a large clown-like monster. Now, I will admit, the design of this boss is quite cool, and also reminds me a lot of the boss Wart seen in Zelda Majora's Mask. But still, it looks really weird and silly, which is logical on the other hand, because it's supposed to be a jester. But for some reason, they thought adding a ton of strange bouncy blobs was fitting, and not odd at all. I also think him running around after straight up falling apart when hitting the ground looks really funny. It's similar to the stuff seen in Super Mario Odyssey with the broodals. Also, the animation of him gathering his precious blobs is a bit freaky, but not on a shivers level though. Number 5. Even the most recent titles aren't safe from Nintendo's crazy ideas. However, this next one is also amazing because it's so insane. The Cookateel, which is the boss of the Luncheon Kingdom. It's a gigantic pink bird with a chef hat and ruffled white wings. Now, when it comes down to it, this boss kind of reminds me of a bird version of Gordon Ramsay, with some crazy added. It's first encountered when Mario tries to reach the stew pot at the top of the mountain to collect a multi-moon. And in battle, it spits various fruits into the stew pot and eventually gushes out pink liquid. Now, if you process all of this and think about it for a second, you can understand why it's on this list. It's an insane bird obsessed with cooking and tries to take you on by puking on you the whole time. Besides that, look at those eyes! Number 4. Now, some of these weird bosses also got into the series thanks to influences outside of the classic games, like Birdo, known in Japan as Catherine. This creature first appeared as an enemy in Yomakoyo Doki Doki Panic, which was rebranded as Super Mario Bros. 2. Since then, it has appeared in various spin-off series of the franchise and became an ally over time. However, the thing that's so weird about this creature is that it looks like a Yoshi, but isn't really. Besides that, there is a lot of confusion in the Super Mario fanbase on what this being even is. Some say it's a girl, others a guy, and there's even an option of no gender at all. Overall, the design shows one thing and then means the other, which is really weird. We have no clue what this creature even is. And when looking at its boss fight in Super Mario Bros. 2, you will see it shooting gigantic eggs that are about as large as its own head. I even mentioned her in another video when I was looking at other weird stuff seen in the Super Mario series. By the way, you can check that video out by clicking in the upper right corner. Now, all of this combined just makes it a weird looking and acting being, which became a classic in the series for some reason. Number 3. One of the stranger Super Mario games, named Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, also has one of the most goofy looking creatures ever. Hook-Bill the Koopa, who used to be a normal Koopa Troopa, but was enlarged by Kamek to take out Yoshi. After the transformation is complete, it will re-emerge from its shell, and at that point you will start to see something weird. When looking at its face, you will notice that it looks extremely odd, to say the very least. The thing always reminds me of something called derp, the wonderful state of having a face that looks beyond ridiculous. And let's be honest, that's exactly what our good friend Hook-Bill has. He even stands up and runs, making him look even weirder and completely ridiculous. It's kind of sad that Kamek took such a good looking and normal Koopa Troopa and turned it into a monster looking like this. Number 2. Now in Super Mario Odyssey, there's another boss that looks a bit odd and doesn't make sense in my opinion. Waluigi Launcher, the fancy, giant, well-dressed purple gushion, who's presumably related to the similar-looking cosmic creatures called Ostro Launchers. He initially appears atop the large glass chalice in the Seaside Kingdom, sucking the sparkle water from it with a bendy straw. Now the fact that he is a well-dressed squid already makes him a bit odd for sure. However, there's even more that makes him one of the weirdest. When he is confronted by Mario, he will lose his hat and underneath it there's a large puddle of lava. It's there so you can't damage him right away. You first have to get rid of it. However, it doesn't make sense. Why in the name of anything that is sane does he have lava on his head? Wouldn't that hurt a lot instead of help? It just looks extremely weird and silly, especially compared to his fancy outfit and overall look. Clearly a bit of a weird decision by Nintendo to make. This entire fancy space squid with a heated head just messes with my head. Number 1. Here it comes, the most goofy boss seen in the entire Super Mario series that I can't take serious at all. Squizzard, who is seen in Super Mario Galaxy 2. He is fought in the Slip Sand Galaxy and lives in a sinkhole, where he viciously guards his territory by throwing objects at Mario. Now, if you want to talk about weird-looking Super Mario bosses, then this is certainly the king of them all. When you confront it, you first get a quite menacing little cutscene of the beast appearing out of seemingly nowhere. However, from the start, you can see it opening its mouth and looking like a weird screaming plushie. To be honest, there's nothing scary about this boss. It looks more like something I want to hug than run away from. Just put some funny sound effects in the boss fight, and you will forever think it's a silly and weird little creature. As you can clearly see, he's not that intimidating. It's nothing more than a big lizard with a huge cartoonish mouth and tiny arms. And you will never unsee this. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to watch more videos, be sure to click the annotations and hit that subscribe button and bell so you won't miss anything. Believe me, it's worth it.